You have to beware, both aware and beware, of the effect of spending 8 hours, 10 hours a day in an organisation that has different goals, different membership in a sense to what might be ideal and godly. In a sense, to do well in the organisation, you have to be purposeful. And to be successful, you need to have the right image and effectiveness with others. So you acquire mannerisms and techniques deliberately and subconsciously, because you copy those that are successful in their manner, in their posture, in their ways of dealing with things. Quite simply, you become worldly as opposed to godly. And our organisations train us in that, because an organisation is not a person, as I've pressed before. It's a composite of persons with a particular purpose, and it's not defined to be of God. And if it is, like a church, then it's defined to be of some composite of every view of God, not just that's in the membership now and stressed by its leaders, but by what they've inherited from the past in ways of seeing things and structures of the way the organisation works, the church or whatever. It's, to say the least, a corruption of personhood, and to say the most, it doesn't have personhood at all. My ways are not your ways, saith the Lord. I pray not for the world, but for those whom thou hast given me, for they are thine. All mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I'm glorified in them. Now you may of necessity be forced to experience working with organisations and in them. There are ways of, for instance, I was a teacher for some decades, but never took responsibility for other people within the school. I stayed on basic grade. Well, I mean basic grade, not with special incentives for those who are running departments and so forth. And the same with lecturing. Yes, I was lecturing, but, I was not an associate professor or something. If you're not too much trouble, you can get away with a considerable amount of independence because you're lower ranks. You're no threat, at least to those who are ambitious. Whereas if you're in the hierarchy, you have to watch out for up-and-coming people, nip them in the bud before they get there. From the point of view of strengthening your position, unless, of course, you can manipulate them into being faithful followers of you in spite of being ambitious and so on. I could say beware then of ambition, but I could say beware of being in any organisation, because it trains you the way you don't want to go for the kingdom of heaven, for loving life and caring for life. Quite apart from the official goals of the organisation, I mean, I had a friend who, he was not that far off retirement, and he worked in a brewery, and he became a very earnest Baptist, one would say, converted to Christianity. And he didn't know what to do, because, it was the only occupation he knew all his life, and he was near retirement anyway, and so on. And I could understand his dilemma, and Well, I didn't think much of it at the time because I hadn't thought much on such things, but it was an interesting, oh yeah, I suppose that's a problem, you know. Yes, about being a problem, but it's a cost. It may be a necessary experience you need to go through as part of your learning of what you truly value and what you truly wish to avoid. And it may make you clearer on many issues, working for a certain organisation that's anything but godly. And my narrow opinion is that organisations are inherently ungodly, for they have goals, and they're not going to be identical to your goals, and therefore you're in a compromised position, and in a culture and an atmosphere that will affect you accordingly. Perhaps for good, you may revile it and, be much clearer on what your values are. But you say, all the progress and the technology and the culture we have is a result of our massive organisations. Yes. And how satisfactory is our culture and technology and so on? Pretty good compared to living wild in the jungle at the mercy of the elements and wild creatures and the vagaries of the weather and so forth. But I think one could say that organisations only take you so far, and then they become the problem, whether it's politics, the affiliation you belong to and you're fighting with, and with other parties and so on, or whether it's the firm that's in competition with and hardly maximising welfare in the society, but rather maximising, profit or power or both. And it's the same with a charity. It has a career structure. Alarm bells should be ringing the moment you're paying the priesthood. Well, you shouldn't have a priesthood according to Jesus. They call no man master, pastor, Lord, or anything else. For one is your teacher, God in heaven. Yes, don't call people teacher, and don't accept them as teacher of authority over you. They are your equal, with a specialism that's probably not half as wonderful as it makes out. So we find we are the living reality of being in the world, but not of it. Called, yes. Sent, yes. But not of it. You choose your company wisely. It affects you. What you do, hour after hour, day after day, whether it's on your computerized device, phone, whatever, gossiping perhaps, as a faithful church member. Yeah. Or slaving your guts out in some sort of career to pay the mortgage and keep body and soul together. You can't do it that way. It doesn't work. You can be the epitome of worldly success and be as, be suicidally depressed. Forgotten who the guy was, can't remember his name now even. He was one, if not the richest man in the world in my mother's era. I don't know, 1940s, 50s. And he was asked if he was happy, and goodness, you could tell from his face what the answer was. It looked like death warmed up. He was chronically unhappy. That's not the way you wish to go, dear one. They are not of the world. He's talking about you and me. Well, he says he prays not for the world, but he does send us to any that have ears to hear. In other words, into the harvest. Those that are ripe, if you like, ready for the kingdom of heaven. And the rest, as he says to Pilate, I'm no threat to you. My kingdom is not of this world. If they were, my servants would fight. They don't. Give unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. Because what he really means is, give unto God the things that are God's. If you would enter into life, love you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad. I got it. It's come to me. Name of the chap was Paul Getty. Had a facial expression that, well, reminded me of Krishnamurti. Goodness, is that the way I wish to go? I don't think so. The world is here for a very good reason. It's a great teacher. Call no man teacher. Father, Lord, Pastor, etc., etc., etc. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Beware then of man, what man adds. Or as a charismatic Christian lady we once knew used to say, we don't want man, Lord, we don't want man. And then she meant it, of course. She had a phobia against men. Difficult if you're worshipping Jesus. He sort of presents as a sort of man in the story, even if he is mild and gentle. She was always referring to, he needs crushing, Lord. She was talking about her husband. And I think she meant it. Not quite in the way my mum meant it, but he sort of thought, that's not quite Christian language, is it? The world's an incredible confusion of, well, the Western world of decayed Christianity and secular PC ethics. Yeah. You see, we're sanctified, set aside, made holy, not of the world. Sanctify them by thy truth. Thy word is truth. John 17, verse 17. So this is H4. The number of man. Man in his childhood. Yep. Thank you.